down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Okay, anyway, I talk really fast. Why do I talk fast? So I can get you as much information as possible. I think people that try to sell you stuff, slow it down, make you think, and then try to say you got to buy my stuff. The goal here is to get as much information as possible. And how do we get the most information as possible? By helping each other, right? Mm-hmm. There's things that I know that I don't know that you know. And there's things that I know that you don't know. That's why you're here. We're going to knock this out fast and furious. As soon as this is definitely a question and answer type of environment today. I'm going to do, this is not the first time I've done this, but this is kind of like an unusual way I handle a class, is I'm going to pose questions and we're going to answer. And we're going to answer as a collectively, okay? And just so you can engage and retain it more. Okay, this is a subject that I'm severely passionate about, bank funding. And all that to say is that I thought that I could never raise money, and it's amazing that you can raise millions of dollars if you know what you're doing. All right, so you can't sue me. I'm recording this deal. Everybody cool with that? All right? I'm not an expert. I'm just some average Joe. I have been writing this book for about 4 or 5 years, and I'm almost done, but it helps me if you have any questions. Like, write down your questions today, because we're going to get to them as fast as possible. Cool. All right, so first of all, whoever the 20, 30 people that I have in this room are the smartest people ever, because I did it the hard way. There's several ways to do it, and I wish I just had 1/10 of this information, because there are so many times I just wasted time and accelerated wealth if I would have just knew this stuff beforehand. These are all the banks that I borrowed money from, even out of state, bought property in Florida with this bank, okay? These are local banks that I borrowed money from. So you want the insider track of how First United, Great Nations Bank, Bank First, borrowed money from all these banks just locally. Okay, you guys know my story. Started in 1999, blah blah, about over 100-something units. But I didn't get started. I started out with no money, and that's all I did in 1999 to 2005 is no money down deals. Not no money down deals, but owner finance, because I had this horrible mentality that why would anybody loan some flunky DJ money? Right. I mean, that was my mentality. I got no job. I got no degree. I'm going nowhere. Why would they ever loan me money? Man, if I would have knew what I know now, I would have been Brian Nix by now. If I would have known that dude, man, we're not even talking about private money today. That's what's even crazier. Because we're talking about bank funding. There's so many legs of money. It just blows my mind. Like, the deals that I'm doing now are just crazy. I thought that I could never do. I got my very first loan, an investor loan, in 2006. That's when they shouldn't have never gave me money. And then I just focused from 2006 till today on borrowing money. My goal now, taking the knives, don't stab me. I can't find any deals right now. I know like people like Andrew Cross are selling them to his friends. I'm not his friend anymore. I heard the other day, where'd you get that deal from? Oh, Andrew Cross. Okay. It's all good. I wish I was in private money. I wish I would. It's really cool. So again, more questions. What documents do you need to have ready for the bank to meet the bank to borrow money? Anybody want to answer that one? What documents do you need?
Income tax.
Income tax. Okay.
Financial statement.
Financial statement. We're missing another one.
Balance sheet.
There you go. One more. One more. Rent roll. Another one. Portfolio. The way to win a bank is bam, bam. Show them your portfolio. If it's 1 or 2 houses, just show them a portfolio. Rich Dad Poor Dad says your credit score doesn't matter if you have a financial statement. Whoever said financial statement is right. Is this true? Oh, my bad. That's weird. That's on my computer. That's what happens when you love Google. All right. Well, does it matter? Your credit score?
Yes, it does.
Kind of. You could get a high interest loan. Does it matter with private money? No. Now, here's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't know this. What in the world? Don't touch the mouse. Banks usually pull your credit when they first get started with you, that one time, and then they usually pull it once a year, usually. So if you can massage things, does that make sense? Like when you borrow money and when you turn in your financials, timing is an important issue. For example, if you're new and you're just starting out, you could pull your credit, and then you usually have 30 days in that type of institution. So if you're going to borrow money and you're going to do all this paperwork, you should probably borrow money or apply for several banks and do all your underwriting. And it won't buoy your credit. Does that make sense? So say, I do this every time. Every time I need money, I always call two banks. And I compete two banks against each other. I call this bank, what are you offering? I think I can get that money. I'll submit my documents to that bank. Then I'll call a backup bank and I'll ask the same thing. And then I'll even lightly tell them, hey, I've also communicated with this bank. If they, for some random reason, they pull my credit, it's not going to hurt my credit because they pulled that credit. The one bank is going to pull the credit, the other one won't. Okay? Oh. And then I use that bank to compete against each other. Well, this bank said that they'll do 5.25. You use the other banks against each other, just like a car dealership. Okay? You understand the concept behind a bank, that they have to loan you money, but our mentality is that we're begging them for money. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you come across, looking across, that they need me and I need them, and they're just going to vet you out to make sure that you can pay back, right? They have quotas. Did you guys know that the loan officer has to? Isn't that crazy? I mean, they have to loan millions of dollars. Are you going to be that person? How come some banks are willing to loan money to rental properties and other banks are not? Okay, stop touching that book.
Some of them are loaned out.
Some of them don't even have a business model. For one credit union, someone turned me on to a credit union. I went over there, opened up $1 million over that credit union, paid down 5 years later, 7 years later. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to refinance. I call them. We don't even have a commercial division anymore. Whoa. Okay? Every bank is different. No bank is the same. In our world, the documents look the same, but they're not the same. The way they do their policies and procedures, way they vet you out, how they like rental property and how they don't like rental property. Okay? You need to know this information before you call the bank. When I work with someone in the beginning, they wouldn't loan me money. Well, who'd you call? Bank First. Is Bank First going to loan? Do they even know? I was at a meeting the other day, commercial real estate meeting, and these banks, they won't even talk to you unless they can loan you $2 million. That's just where, like, they only loan on apartments, they only loan on commercial properties, right? So every bank is different. You need to know. What are balloons? And should I use them or avoid them? What are the risks? Anybody want to take that one?
Interest rates can go up.
Interest rates. Well, what is a balloon?
Comes due at a certain time.
Okay, it has a time
in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time thing.
It's going to pop.
It's going to pop. No. Most banks, they want to renew it. But why do you think they have a balloon?
Interest rates go up.
No, but why do they do it?
The option to call their money. Yeah.
That's one thing. There's an option there. They're not trapped. Okay, there's another reason.
They can raise your rates when
they don't want to lose money. Here's the main reason. If do you not understand how banks work? They borrow money from the Fed, or they use their own assets and they loan you money. So they borrow money from the federal government at 2%, and they're loaning it to you for 4%. That's arbitrage. That's how banks really make money.
Yes.
Okay. If they lock in the rate for you at 4%, and Donald Trump kills somebody,
right,
and the rate goes up to 7%, what happens?
They're losing money.
They're losing money. They won't be in business. And that's the main reason why they have balloons. That's one of the main reasons. And also, if they need to shift their portfolio, So if you understand where they're coming from, they like when they get audited by the bank, and some regulations, like they can't have so many real estate loans. They have to have auto loans. Some banks have to have a certain number for different parts of the city. It's called redlining. Okay, all this is a mix of who can they can loan money to. So if you know, man, people calling me on my phone and this thing. Low, sorry. All right. So the most people, when I work with somebody, they're like, man, I don't want a balloon. They're scared of the balloon. Should you be scared of the balloon? Not necessarily. You need to plan and strategize, because you might want to, here's the strategy that you might want to lock in a 3-year balloon with one bank, say with a certain interest rate, and then you could stack it with another bank on a 5-year balloon. Now, do banks loan for fixed rates? Yes. They could be 10 years, 20, 30. There's even banks that do 12 years. It's extremely rare to get a 30-year loan, but it's possible. I overheard from somebody. I heard it's hard to get financing if you're trying to buy a property through an LLC. Is that true? No. Why do banks, most banks require you to have an LLC? Why?
Business loans.
Well, it's considered a business. An LLC is considered a business, which is considered a business loan. There's another motive behind all that. Dodd-Frank.
Protected by those laws.
Yeah, because when you write to an individual, you step into a totally different regulation. It's the Wild West in the LLC. Okay, so a lot of people are like, well, do I have to get it? You should have an LLC if you're going to try to borrow money. Now they're going to make you personal guarantee stuff anyway. So it's just
They got the best of both worlds that way.
yeah, ultimately, because they could take your LLC down, or put a lien on your LLC, and then put a lien on you. Okay. But a lot of people are confused. Should I have an LLC? Some banks. So if you're going the banks that I showed earlier, you probably should have an LLC ready to roll. Small local bank or a large bank like Bank of America. Small. Why?
They don't even talk to you, those guys.
They're totally different. And who's the person you should be talking to at the bank?
Owner.
The owner. Well, there's usually not an owner, but there's people that have shares that kind of seem like the owner. If you can get with the president of a bank, or a branch manager, or a senior vice president, okay, you're going to see a lot of bank that just says vice president. That's another way of saying I'm a salesman.
President, branch manager, and what else?
Senior vice president, branch manager, of course the president. Okay, those are the people that you really want to get to know in the bank. There's nothing wrong with Bank of America. You could have a technique where you can get FHA loan, or really big loans, but they're not going to work with you. Remember, all banks are different, and with a smaller bank, they're loaning on your character. That's their main thing, on your personality, what your goals are, what you're trying to do. Okay, this is a good question. Should I have a separate loan on each property or consolidate them all? Anybody want to try that one?
There's different ways to do it.
Right?
If you consolidate them all, you want to have a takeout clause with the bank so that you can
Write that down.
You can get a $2 million
Takeout clause.
So you can get a $2 million loan on 10 houses. You get a takeout clause on each house, so it reduces the mortgage proportionately. The benefit of that, it gets you a better interest rate.
Okay, so the takeout clause is like, and you probably want to put a percentage of what the value is of the property.
Right.
So what I do is I'll buy a house, one house for 50, one house is 70, one house, and I'll use one bank, and I'll get 10 houses, which will be about 500,000, and then I'll consolidate to one bank. Now, the same amount of work to do a $50,000 loan as it does to a $500,000 loan. It's the same work for the banker. Okay. Now you got to have vision and direction. If I'm gonna dump these ghetto cribs, and I got an Edmond house that I know is going to be a lifer for me, it's a horse. Okay. And it's also difficult if you have high equity in one and no equity in another one, because you don't want to keep refinancing them. These are ones that you want to set and kind of forget. But a lot of people get nervous. You could release those houses out of there. He has a takeaway clause. You need to ask the bank straight up in the beginning, is it going to be difficult for me to break this up?
What you need is a partial release of mortgage.
Yes. And it's weird. Every time I do this, one time I had so much equity, they just released the house to me. Then I think I did a podcast on this because I was so pissed off at this one girl. I called her up, hey, I need a release. I'm closing on this deal. I need a release. She's like, okay. She threw out a number like random, like $25,000. Now this is like a $100,000 house. And I was like, what the? And then I called back later. It was like $35,000.
Whoa.
Well, that affects my cash when I get at closing. It didn't really matter anyway. But you see what? I was dumping that property. But you need to be aware of this on the front end. Some banks have a policy, either they have to have another appraisal, okay, that could cost you money. That's one way you could stiff arm them to get a release. They also could, if they don't have a takeaway clause in there, you could be jammed and they won't release it. It's possible. It's rare, but it's possible. So when you consolidate, you got to be thinking about that.
I do partial releases of mortgage, and I put in there the specific amount that they'll release each property for. In other words, 921
Yeah, that's what he's talking
Southeast
about.
15th Street is $53,000.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. It's a takeaway clause.
$41,000.
Yeah, what are you saying?
Okay, he's getting to what I'm about to ask you. So you have a certain amount you up front you put into the loan.
That's what Mr. Pat does. I have a percentage.
A percentage?
Yeah, percentage.
Percentage or an amount?
I have in mind. I always have a percentage
So now-
because I do all my calculations by percentages.
So now that
So it's just easy for me to figure it out
So percentage of the appraisal.
of the appraisal
Yeah.
because the appraisal is going to come higher,
Yeah.
so they're going to release it with less.
how does that affect your loan as far as making payments?
Good question. So how's it going to affect the loan? The loan's going to stay frozen at that number. So if your payment's $4,000 a month and you just took down $1,000 house, $100,000 house, so now you owe $300. Let's just give a basic example. $400,000 loan. Okay, you pull a $100,000 house out. That loan stays in place, but it's paying down your equity. Your payment stays.
The payment stays, but now you only really owe $3,000 total.
Technically, no, everything's going to look the same, but your principal is going to go down a lot faster.
Your cash flow doesn't drop too. Then.
Yeah, you're screwed. Well, not screwed, but just depends on where you're at in the game. You need to be prepared.
Now, can you add a house to a loan?
Probably, but you could refinance and shrink that $400,000 down, but it's going to cost you a fee to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, these are all things you got to think about when you're doing. So when I package up, I buy 10 houses, and of course I can't buy 10 houses, no deals. But when I was buying 10 at a time, I would say, okay, I balanced it out, and if I had to cut this one off to sell it, like I just refinanced a house, 10 houses, and I have one for sale. So that's just going to throw me. It's just dumb that I did that, but I had to pay for an appraisal. So now I have to go back to the bank and say, hey, I sold this property, and it'll be interesting to see how they communicate with me. It's going to be a value. Will be on the appraised value, probably 80% that I have to pay that off or whatever. Okay, any other questions on that one? Okay, so should you consolidate? I do. It makes my life easier. Why do banks only do 70%, 75%, and 80% on rental properties, loan to value?
Protect their money.
Yeah, simple is what they'll give you. Like, can you ask for 80%? Yes. If you're a rookie, they're going to try to lower you down at 70. And what I mean ARV, so if it's a $100,000 house, they were like, we can only give you 70. Has anybody had that happen to them before? And then you can turn around and ask them, can I do 75 or even 80? Banks loan 80%. There's some banks I heard the other day that are loaning at 100 again.
Question: When you're in that negotiation, is it just like any other negotiation? I'm going to come in and say I want 90, so I know I'm not going to get 90.
You gotta work with them. You can't, like, they'll shut you down, right? Like,
Okay.
it's a poker game. You have to be like, I don't need you, but I do need you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, this,
Yeah.
it's like I'm just teaching the minor points here. Like the broad strokes. Like if you said that to me, they'll probably just say, okay, see you later, buddy. Now, like I beat them up on fees and stuff because there's some banks that do origination fees, and there's some banks in town that are there's a lot of rookie investors right now, and so these rookie investors don't know a thing called points or don't know origination fees, and I've seen actual banks charge 2.5%, 3% a bank because they can, because that individual doesn't know that's not the standard, right? Do I negotiate those? Sure. Here's a rule of thumb. Anything over $250,000, I negotiate points right at the gate. Most banks, an average bank is about 1 point, which is 1%. So a $250,000 loan is around $2,500. Okay? For just to put that's their part. That's no, not the paperwork, because there's a doc fee. That's just for them to make money on you, because I'm taking a risk on you.
Gotcha.
Okay? Now, you can ask for 0.5 point. You know, if they see your portfolio and they know that you have this stature, they'll I've seen like 0.5 point on stuff. I've seen no doc fees on stuff. It's all negotiable. It's just how you have that relationship with that banker. Could be at time of the year, the end of the year. For example, if you're borrowing an REO from a bank, and this is a trick that I do, I know a bank has an REO and I want to buy that REO from that bank. Everybody know what's an REO?
Real estate owned, bank owned.
Okay. Foreclosure, right?
Right.
I know it's on their books, and I'll even convince them to sell me the REO, and I'll write the paper there, and I'll get no docs on that or no origination fee. And I'll try to get no cash too, because they have to get it off their books, because their compliance,
When you say write the paper there, what do you mean?
write the loan.
Okay. Originate the loan with them.
Yes. So they didn't really lose out on the deal because it's a bad non-performing loan. Oh God, we're going to die, because the banks are rated from compliance, and if they don't, if they have a lot of bad debt on there, it could hurt the bank, and they can get charged a fee for that. So you could swoop in there. I'm super saver investor, and I'll take that asset and I'll take care of it for you. I'll put a new roof on it, but here's my terms. This is what I like. This would work better for us. I would like, the roof money to be tied into the loan, but we could take it as a draw. Okay? So find out what ARV is at that bank. Okay? And some people will do 80% after you acquire the bank. A lot of people do 80% on refi, but you could do an acquisition with an 80 on an acquisition, but it has to be rehabbed, and it's a second loan to rehab it. Some banks do that too. Robert Allen.
You were on this thing about the 70, 80.
Yep.
If you have a house that you purchased and the rehab is going to come to 70%
Okay.
of the ARV.
You're all in at 70?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we're all in at 60.
Okay. Take the 10% out for cash and go on a vacation.
Is that what you normally do? You just take the cash and take on the loan?
Well, if I'm going to take that, let's just say it's $100,000 and you got 60 in it, and the bank said, I'm only going to give you 70. I would try to push it up a little bit, but just to say 70, you have a potential to take 10,000 out.
Right.
I would take that 10,000 out and run and go buy 2 more properties with that 10. Snowball that money. That's to be a successful real estate investor. You can't get to 100-something units not pulling out cash. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to fall in love with them. Debt is a loaded gun. You're going to have to massage debt. You're going to have to understand debt. But like right now, we're sitting on a bunch of stuff right now because we're waiting for the market to change, and we're paying interest on a lot of money right now. A lot of investors have a lot of cash right now, and they're just waiting for all the dummies to leave, and then it's going to be a buyer's market. And they're paying interest on cash that's sitting in the bank for that reason. So yes, I would take the $10,000 out, do that 10 times from 10 different houses, and I got $100,000 in cash in the bank, ready like a machine gun. And I can take them down. Ready. But if I had all that equity tied up in those properties, right, and I need that 10 G's to go buy a house, and the market changes, what's going to happen? They could say no. So is it worth pulling some of it out within reason? The problem is people go buy Volkswagen or something, or a Tesla. That's where this is a business, and you pull this money out, and you allocate this money. So any money, it's all strategic and all planned and ready to roll. Okay, any other questions on that? Robert Allen says, buy property with nothing down. Dave Ramsey says, to avoid debt, pay cash. Who am I supposed to listen to? Well, I just I just slapped that dude in the face. Anybody have a comment on that?
Robert
No?
Allen.
It depends a little bit on where you are on the financial tree.
Or how old you are.
Yeah, and where you are on the financial tree. If you're in the low branches just starting out, there ain't a hell of a lot of risk. If you're a multi-millionaire, the risk goes up proportionately because of your assets that can be lost. So you get more conservative as you get more successful because you have more to lose.
And question, if you're taking the, say, you're building a portfolio of cash flow, shouldn't you be paying down debt also?
It's a strategy.
Would be.
Or do you want to, if you're taking all your money and paying down your principal,
Not all of it, but some.
well, eventually you're going to pay more tax.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because you're going to make more profit,
Right.
and more profit is called earned income. And guess what happens? You pay more taxes. Who benefits that?
Oh.
Not you, buddy.
Government.
The government. So you're working for who now?
Yeah.
Who are you working for?
That's true.
So it's a balancing game. It's also your tolerance. Right. Some people could be $4 million in debt, and why I do this game? Why do I do that? Not because I have X amount of units. What's the main reason why? Why are you in this game? I know you'll know this answer.
Freedom.
Who? Well said. Jay, right? Yeah. Well, cash flow. It took me 10 years to get to that, man. Oh, I gotta have 100 houses. Oh, God, I gotta have all this equity. I want to be debt free. You used to see the people I coach now that are like debt free and they're like struggling. Like, it's cash flow. Cash flow. What are you trying? It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. I almost wore that shirt today. It's not the money. I almost wore that shirt for you today. But it was too hot outside. But it was like a cotton shirt. I was like, no. But it says it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. What are we trying to do here?
I heard a guy with glasses from Two Cell Homes. Anyway, Leo. He was saying they'll have to stay at about 50% leverage as far as they like to have half their stuff paid off just to be safe financially.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. 48%.
Is that a good spot to be, or is that kind of a general?
Every bank in the world will jump for you. You're at 60% or below, every bank will jump for you. 70, they're going to be looking at you. 80, no way, they're going to loan you more money.
Okay, so the sweet.
If you want to be super duper, take down anything, $10 million property, be 50%.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, that number could be fake. Well, how could that be fake? Let's say you buy a house in Midwest City. Okay? There's this little neighborhood I was in yesterday. Let's just say Murder One. let's just say Murder One. I got a couple cribs over there. Murder One. Murder One. Northeast 10th and something.
Yeah, 10th and Punch, yeah. Murder 1.
Okay.
Murder 2, Murder 3, they all
Now,
right there together.
this is a brick.
Yeah, it's a nice looking house.
Looks like money, right? Now, for me, it's only worth $35,000. To you, to Mr. Banker, it's worth how much?
700.
70,000. That's right. 70,000. Good wholesaler over there. Good job. It's worth 70, right? How much of money did I just create in equity?
35.
35. Fake money. Okay. All right. How do I rebuild my credit score? Pay your damn bills. That's the easy one. Just pay your bills. Pay your bills on time. What's another way?
Pay down your debt.
Well, we just talked about leveraging now.
Use your credit.
Utilization score. A lot of people don't know. Like for years, I would have like a $10,000 credit card and I have like $9,000 on it every month, but I pay it off. Nope, you got to do the opposite. Like charge it up, pay it off before the end of it when it's due.
Yep.
There's all kinds of tricks for your credit. Any other tips? How to rebuild your credit score? You can get a credit card. Max was talking about this last week. You get a different type of credit card. You pay on it, and then you put cash on it, and then you pay it back, and it just increases your credit score. Another way is you can put $10,000 CD in a bank and see if they report, and you borrow against your $10,000 that you have in it. That increases your credit score. That's another trick that a lot of people don't know about. When you go to that bank like a big bank, and say, hey, I want to borrow money, but I'm going to collateralize it with my own money, but they're going to give you an installment loan, which is going to help your credit, which is backed by your CD. Well, the installment loan doesn't know that it's backed by your CD, only your bank does. So then it reports it for you.
And Dispute everything.
Dispute everything. That's right. Pull your credit score out, dispute it. Good call. I'll give you a free book on that one. That's a good one. You should. A lot of people don't know that. Do you have this one?
I don't.
Yes. You should. I mean, everything. There's also a law. Like if you dispute it and they don't reply back in what? How many days?
I think it's 35
30 days. It's mandatory. It has to come off. It's the law. Okay. How do I know when it's time to refinance? Ooh. I wrote these questions a long time ago. Now I think differently.
When you're over leveraged.
When you're over leveraged,
When you need some cash.
A little late, huh?
yeah, it's a little late at that point. If you're over leveraged, you're like, they won't talk to you.
Oh, okay.
That's when you need some cash money.
Well, you should refinance all the time. Like you should be like 3 to 5 years. Like after 3 years, that's why balloons are 3 to 5 years. Okay, like try to do a 5 year, but you know most banks will try to get you on a 3 year. They'll even change the interest rate on you. If you have anybody heard that? If you do 3 years, we'll do it 5%. If you do it 5 years, it's 5 1/4. Okay, that's negotiable as well. Can you buy properties from banks? How? Yes, REOs. Who's the person you need to talk to at the bank?
President.
Asset manager.
Asset manager. Good answer. Is it possible to negotiate interest rates with the bank?
Somewhat. Depending on how bad they're motivated to do business with you.
Right. Cycle, time of the year.
Property. Sometimes
Yeah,
they'll make a deal
well-
on the property they want rid of.
Yeah, like this is a situation I was in on this building right here. I was trying to do a no money down deal on this building, and they were willing to do it if I refinance another property, another office building I have. Interesting. And so, well, okay, if I give you this one, can I get it for 10-year lock, or can I get it at 4.5? And they laugh, and then we negotiate at 5, and then always ask for a term sheet. Write that down. You should always. It just shows you're professional. If you know the word term sheet, that when you get to commercial money, the banker may call you, may email you, but you want a piece of paper that shows all the details we've talked about, and what's your interest rate, and how long is your interest rate, is the balloon rate, and they'll also be on the bottom of that little term sheet. Will say, hey, this may not last. This is only good for a certain length of time because the Fed is changing. Was that worth your $10?
Yes.
Okay. Next time someone complains, I'm gonna kill them. I'm buying a rental property. How long should the term be? It depends on who you're talking to. If Robert Elder was up here, who would say
15 years.
or
less.
if it's Steve VanCauwenbergh, you would say
30.
30. Interesting.
Depends on what you want to
If
do.
Brian Nix,
Depends on what you
What
want
would
to
you
do.
say?
If you're living for cash flow, you want
10,
to
10.
Ken,
It's my homie.
Depends on if you want cash flow, you do it in
It just
longer
depends
term.
on, again,
Yeah.
it depends on what your risk tolerance is. What's your goals? What are you trying to do? I know when I die, I can't take these cribs with me. So it really doesn't matter to me. Because why? Cash flow. How do you get more cash flow? On what term? Which has on here, what's the most cash flow?
30.
So you can get a 10-year. And you can be real good. You get hit by a bus. Damn.
Should have went to mile with it.
My man's got a boat too. I know you like being out there on the water. I know. I balance this really well. Personally, I do. You know, on this building, I was going to sell this building to a wonderful, great mentor came up to me and blew my mind because the loan that I had on here. I got a 20-year AM. Actually, I pushed a 20-year to 25-year AM or somewhere around there. And you had to negotiate that deal. And when you're, you know, and a really good friend of mine said, have you thought about a 30-year at this rate? And changed my life because we were losing money at the 20-year loan. Okay, we were barely breaking even, and life was, you know, utilities and all expenses and vacancies are disaster. Mm-hmm. But if we had a 30-year loan on a giant loan, we would actually cash flow $1,000 a month just by changing the terms of a loan. Now, are you really ever going to own anything? It's just a strategy. Life change.
It depends on the terms you can get, because I got some rental property one time at 80% with a really good low fixed rate. So I went through my portfolio and picked out 7 or 8 houses that I were going to leave to my grandkids, I put them on 30 years at Bank of America, so I didn't give a damn. I was leaving to my kids anyway. I wanted the cash flow till I died.
Give a damn.
But now there's do that with others. You see what I'm saying?
Yeehaw, cowboy. All right, I found this house. It was a real bargain. Because it needed $20,000 of repair, how do I get the financing for the repair? Is it possible?
What's that house worth?
Good question. Well, a lot of people think you can't do that. Can you get repairs?
Mm-hmm, you can.
Yeah.
I
You
just
can't.
did it. I just
There are
did it.
some banks will just loan on ARV, and then there's some banks that will split the loan up. Will do an acquisition if you put down a certain amount of money, and then finance the repairs.
Mhm.
So how does that work? Okay. Does anybody want to explain that? Anyone want to try? Nobody wants to try?
Is the repairs like a second?
It's well, yeah, it's a second, and then you got like, so let's just say it's a $100,000 house, and they want you to put down 10% on the 80. So how much is that?
$8,000.
8,000. Okay, so now you bought it for 72. Okay, then over here you have the make ready, the repairs, but you have 30,000. They're going to loan you a draw, which is 30,000. So is it a no money down deal? Basically,
Yes.
you really have to put down the 8,000 to close the deal, but then you have another loan over here that's ready to go. That's 30. And what's your first draw? 8,000. Like, give my money back. Or 15, or 12, or whatever,
Right.
or 30. Now, some banks are not going to just turn around and give you the 30 tomorrow. Because why? How do you get draw money? Anybody know how to get draw money?
Work.
Work order, it's possible, or receipts.
Mhm.
Now you got to make sure you know this on the front end. And some banks actually charge you to do a draw, because they got to send their little guy out there to make sure you're gonna paint the wall.
Yeah, every single
Did anybody experience that?
Sure.
You experienced that at Roban?
every week they're saying it over.
Yeah.
Every
And some
week.
people charge how much? How much?
200.
150, 200. Some people charge that.
Our guy just gives us a mountain. When it's gone, it's gone. We
Yeah.
just use it as we need to.
You just need to be aware of that, because you need to add that into your cost of goods.
Yeah.
It's not, and sometimes some loans are going to be a little confusion for you. It's okay. Ask somebody else. I've never really done construction loans before, and they're really bizarre. You're going to charge me to take my money? What? Or my favorite was, one bank was just had me every, when a term would renew, a doc fee, they wouldn't charge me. So when a loan was due, like it was ballooned for 3 years, hey, VanCauwenbergh, we want to do this loan. Keep it rolling, homie. Okay, I need you to sign this one-page document to renew the loan. So I renew the loan, never charged me. On another bank, $80. What'd you charge me? It's a doc fee. What? You just print that out of your computer, homie. I literally didn't know. Because I've been banking over at this bank for 10 years, and I started growing and using this bank. Man, I must have looked like a retard, because I was like, yo, for real? You gonna charge me? And then I got all weird, and then I called a bunch of, that's normal. Like, people charge to renew, so you need to be aware of that. How do you get a second mortgage on a property? Do you ever get a second mortgage on a property? Why or why not? I thought you would just jump in on this one.
Well, I can. The thing is, it depends on the rate on the first and the amount of loan you got out on the first. You got a really low rate on the first, you might want to get a second, as opposed to losing that low rate on the first.
If someone will give me a second mortgage on something, sure.
That still happens.
That's money I could take
Leverage it.
and go to somewhere else. Can you ever get it? Here's the cool thing. After you do a first mortgage, that bank that's on that first mortgage can't do nothing to you on the second mortgage.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What do you mean?
Like, so that's a $100,000 loan, and I got an $80,000 loan on it, and somebody wants to give me $20,000 for the other equity. That first mortgage doesn't matter. He's in position. If I defaulted, that bank would get it. That second mortgage would be
You
over.
just lose, yeah.
Yeah, he would be. Of course they'll go after you.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not recommending getting a second mortgage. Just people just don't understand how it works. Do the banks care if I borrow the down money from another source?
No.
Okay, this is a good one. They get better as we go. He says yes, you say no.
Don't
Oh,
tell
you
them.
he say yes.
Don't tell them.
I said if they don't know, what are they?
Yeah, don't tell them.
Yeah.
Well, some
Be
require
Well-
careful what you don't disclose.
some require seasoning.
Okay, well, Man, all those are good. Okay, well, number one, don't tell them.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear. But I have seen this. I sold the property to this dude. It was a no money down deal, and I was like, "What the?" He borrowed, like, I sold him a property. Let's just keep the numbers easy. It was a $100,000 house. I carried back 20%. The bank brought the 80,000.
Okay, enough down deal. Seller carried nothing down deal. Serious.
All day. Okay, that bank was okay with that. Now, if I borrow, 10 G's from Drew, now you got to be ready. Where'd you get that 10 G's from?
Right. But no, the reason they were okay with that is they're still in it for 80, and they knew the house was worth 100. So they were going to be fine.
Still, but like what Jay said, that could come up in a conversation.
But they ask
You be ready
They
to
ask
answer that question, because your whole relationship with that bank just changed. Just FYI, just stuff that you need to know. How do I build a personal relationship with a banker? Is it possible?
Bribery.
Bribery, illegal. You can't. You're not supposed to give a banker a gift or anything. Just like the hospital.
buy my
industry.
lunch.
Buy him a lunch.
You can't hardly buy one's lunch. They won't let you.
I just did it.
Well, they were very rare.
Yeah, you can. You just gotta. You could write a. You could.
It's just like any other relationship.
Just exactly. A lot of people think because they wear a suit and tie. That's how I used to think. Oh
They're people.
no, I don't like white collar
Figure out
people.
what they want.
But I mean, you need to have a relationship with a banker. Okay, where I am today is because 20 years ago or so, someone spent time with me. He was a retired banker and taught me everything I know. Right? I would have lunch with that dude every day if he had let me to. You should have a relationship. What's hard money? Anybody know what's hard money?
High interest rate.
High interest rate. Well, some banks are charging high interest rates.
Now this one is over the top.
Well, what's over the top?
10,
It just depends on
15%.
who you're borrowing money.
First of all, how much time we got? Because I'm about to break the interest rate confusion. People focus way on the interest rate, and they're missing out the opportunity of what's really happening. I'd pay 30% interest rate all day.
Just turn around and refinance it.
All day. All day. If I'm making money,
But 30%? You crazy?
see? This is perfect. I didn't pay for that dude to be up here.
Yeah. You insane.
Dude, you should go roll with me.
It's
We'll be in
insane.
St. Louis next week.
Insanity.
Please, someone educate him.
Please. I will
Please.
take it. I
Who
will.
wants to help him? Change his life.
30%.
You're about to change his life. Someone's about, Father, we won't pray right now. Because you're about to just have a baby.
Well,
Okay,
tell me.
Drew, explain.
If you do a no money down deal at 30% interest rate and you're profitable, then it's infinite returns still.
Oh, if it's profitable.
It has
I'll
to be
take it.
profitable. What's wrong with you? We're in a room full of people that want to
Well,
make money.
but hey, we can do the other things
This
that
is real
not
estate
profitable.
investing 101, homie. We got to make money.
Well, that's why I'm here. So
I
you
know, but
can-
so 30% doesn't matter if it's 30% or 80%.
in that case, I take it.
Now.
If I make profits,
Hey,
why
listen,
not?
get back up.
I pay 35%.
There you go.
It doesn't matter. And another trick too is like, I'll lock it up for 30 and I'll turn around and refinance it to somebody else. Or I'll call Brian Nick, say, hey man, let's work out a private money lender.
Yeah, Brian's up for 28.5.
Have you follow private? Yeah, what's your interest rate that you pay? I know you've been chasing this.
How much?
Yeah.
10. Wait, when you first started out? 12. Come on, buddy. Because I busted him on the radio show. You pay 12%?
No, that was Pat.
All right. Here's some banks. Oklahoma City, write this down. These are the banks that loan to real estate investors. Bang, bang. This is where your $10 came in right here. Oh, I paid $10 to be here. This is a $1,000 class in my mind. Has anybody worked with Bank 7?
No, never have.
Cashed quite a few
Prosperity
checks.
Banks?
I work for Prosperity.
Okay, cool. All you cheap people took the photo. We ready?
Yep.
Okay, this is how you get a loan. Okay, 1, you find a bank. Duh. Ask Pat, who do you use? Even Pat still uses bank money, right? Sometimes?
Very little.
Very little. Okay, find an old school guy, or me, who do I borrow money at today? The bank that I'm borrowing money was not the same bank I was borrowing money with 3 months ago. Okay, They're just like insurance. They change just like the wind. Okay, you want a relationship with them. Then you connect with a loan officer, aka vice president is usually the title of the lower level of guy. You want to go to senior vice president, move on up. Got to give your financials. What were they? Rent roll is a big one. Okay, another one that's not on there is your portfolio, all your houses. Show who you are. The minute you call the bank, you're in this thing called the process that,
Well, you don't have a portfolio.
It's okay if you have it. If you don't, the minute you call a bank, you're being underwritten right then. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you interact with emails, the questions. The number one question they're going to ask you: what's your goals, Jose? What's your goals?
Independent financially.
How many houses would you like to own in this next 12 months, sir?
10.
10. Like, really? How many houses do you have now?
6.
So you're going to double your portfolio, and how long have you been doing real estate investing?
3 years.
You see, you always want to be conservative with a bank. Man, I would like to maybe purchase another one and by the end of the year. Maybe
2.
Maybe 2. But inside you're raging like an animal. I want 30. Okay?
How many you gonna
They don't.
get?
You got to understand. They don't think like you. If they did, they would be you. I'm telling you, the greatest thing I ever did once is play cash flow with a banker. It was the greatest game I ever played. And I remember it was me, it was my realtor, somebody else, his wife, my wife, me, the banker's wife. I wish I had that. And I remember the wife over here. All these guys are making money and we're not. There's a reason why they're a banker. Why?
They see the glass is half empty all the time.
Yeah, they're always. If they would be rich, they wouldn't be bankers.
They're focusing on.
Do you think I loan money like that? That's my way to make
Half
money.
empty all the time. That's all they do.
That's just a strategy. I loan money as a strategy. I don't loan money as a source of business. This individual is loaning money for. That's how they eat. How do we eat? Or how do I eat? Renting out cribs all day. Buying assets. Okay. So you got to know who you're talking to. Your goals are 130,000 times different than their goals. They have no intention to buy a house. Okay? So you have to talk like them, learn their language, and then when they ask, you got to be conservative. Because why? They're conservative. Low key. Now when they see your portfolio and you got 6 houses, right? Is that what you said 6? Yeah. So then, you're a pretty established investor. I just want to grow, maybe add on 1 or 2 or, I'm really doing this for my what? Retirement. That's the language they understand. They like 401 somebody's. Okay? So you get the financials, you have a meeting, you should have on there, you should have this now. If you don't have this now, you need to have life insurance. It's like if you're young, how old are you? 20? It'd be like $30. It'd be like $30. It'll be like $30 a month for you for like $2 million. So for me, 1.5 million is like $50 a month, and it's it's cost of doing business. But you can put that on your portfolio. You put that on your financial statement that you have. Yeah. Okay. They're going to ask you what's your objective. What are you trying to do? What's your goals? And then when you're going to meet with a banker, you should. How I do it, I'm interviewing them. What type of loans are you doing? Do you like working with real estate investors? Even though inside I'm raging, I need money, I'm dying, I'm going to go to hell if I don't borrow this money right now. Mm-hmm. But I come across like, well, I may, have communicated with this bank, so on and so forth. Then you got to get an appraisal, then you get a HUD, proof of insurance, then you close. Okay, so how did I was able to borrow all this money this far in my life? I outsourced my financial statement. I use the same financial statement today that I did 20 years ago when I paid a banker $200 to do my financial statement. I'm using that same, actually I changed it up a little bit, but I used for 18 years, I used the same financial statement that guy created for me, and that was his job. All he did was underwrite other people. So wouldn't it be smart just to have him do my financial statement for me? Because he knew exactly what to look for. Yeah. You can negotiate. Mark already got that figured out. constant contact. So when someone loans me money, doesn't matter if it's a private money or a lot of the stuff I got from Brian Nix is like, I remember one day I was doing business with this bank, and then that banker left. That happens, okay? And then I have an apartment building, and I'm in the middle of rehabbing an apartment building, and I have a tattoo here, so I don't show people my tattoos. You know, always wear like a collared shirt, be professional.
Smart.
And I remember this banker called me. He's like, "Hey, I want to meet you." I was like, "I want to come by and see the property." Whoa, right now? And I was like really nervous. Actually went out and got a shirt. And because I was in the ghetto.
Did you put on long pants?
I got in trouble the other day. I was at a meeting and I had shorts on. Nobody else in the building had shorts. Everybody had ties on. I was like, oh man, I'm way underdressed. Remember that?
Yeah, I was with him. It was embarrassing.
I was like talking to everybody in the room was multi-millionaire. I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's OG, and I'm like, man, I want to dress like that guy. You know, I know his shirt was like $500, and so what happened was he was a new banker. It was his new time, and he walked the asset with me. And from that day forward, as soon as someone loans me money, I'm taking pictures. This is where your money's going, and I would just be a jerk about it. Hey, this is with the $200,000 you loan me. Bing, bing. And I would send them photos, and I would give them updates. When you borrow and syndicate millions of dollars, they expect you to give them constant contact. So if you're raising money to buy a multi-million-dollar apartment building, okay, and someone puts in $100,000 and you put in $100,000 and they put in $100,000, they want you to be in constant contact with them. This is what's going on with the property. This is what's happening. You know, Hurricane Harvey came through. He's cool, but we're not. This is what's happening. And I've learned this, and you have to be upfront and full disclosure and tell them the good, the bad, the ugly on everything. Now I'm not on a banker. I wouldn't tell him, you know, I'm having some issues with my kid didn't pass second grade. But I would say, you know, we're a little behind on delays. Drywall went up to $10 a thing, blah, 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 blah. But we're on it, you know. And always, one thing that I've seen, since I've been doing this for 20 years, I've seen investors go down, which is really interesting, right? And then I've also heard bankers talk about, you know, they don't say names like, man, if that investor would have just called us and said that they're struggling, we would have worked with them. But since they would not answer the phone, we crushed them. And so if you're ever in that position, man, you call me and I'll encourage you and cry with you and I'll help you. But, you know, start drafting a letter towards the banker and saying, hey, this is the situation. This is where I'm at, you know. And I've heard this from several bankers several times that their life would have been a lot easier. We would have extended the loan. We would have refinanced and knock off $1,000 if they would have just called us. But they didn't call us, and we didn't trust them from there on in. So, for example, and I've actually seen this on the other side. A friend of mine was going bankrupt. They called me, and I was like, you want to sell your property? I'm ready. And seriously, I was like, how can I help you? And I was like, did you communicate this to the bank? You know, what's happening? Yes, we did. Well, I after this bankruptcy happened and it all went down, and they actually satisfied their portion, it worked out beautifully. But the banker communicated, and I was involved in this whole transaction, that they were in constant communication with us, and it worked out great, and they would loan that investor more money in the future. Now, they probably had to let it season for a while. So that's one thing, constant contact. Okay, this is a trip. These are my tips that I do. Before they ask for my financials, I give it to them. Don't be like that flunky deal in October. All the investors do their taxes, and they slow roll their taxes and stuff. I'm not saying do your taxes on time. What I am saying is when you do have them done, don't have them ask you, you submit them to them. If you're in a regular, it depends on where you're at. If you have a bunch of loans, but you want to submit this information before they ask them. And if they ask you, get it to them instantaneously, as fast as humanly possible. For example, every bank right now is asking for their financials. I'm assuming anybody having this situation? Is all their taxes done? No, you don't have your taxes done, but what can you give them?
Personal financial statements.
Nope. Who said it? Doreen? You give them a copy of the extension. That will satisfy them. These are paper people. It's got to have a file. I don't have their taxes in the file. I'm going to go to hell if I don't get this done. Whoa. A little extension printed out from IRS works great. When they talk to you, does anybody know what a word credit memo is? Anybody ever heard that terminology about you? What's a credit memo?
Just notate it.
Okay, so everybody that's ever borrowed money, there's a credit memo on you, okay? And so that's their thing called underwriting. Credit memo is also known as a underwriting. So what happens is you go apply to a bank, and then they get your information, right? And they look at it, they put it on the table, should we loan this dude money? After that vice president, the loan officer, whoever, takes that information and then once a week goes to a board meeting. Have you heard of this before? Mm-hmm. Okay, goes into the board meeting and, should we loan Mr. VanCauwenbergh money? My name pops up on it, your name will pop up. It will be your name. It's not like Joe Investor. It will be blank, blank, blank. And then, why should we loan him money? And that's where credit memo comes in, and that's why you're underwriting. Well, he has X amount, and basically that loan officer is selling the board of directors or the loan committee on why we should loan them money. Because if I default, who's it fall back on? That guy. And then that guy could potentially lose his job if he has a lot of defaults. Okay? So it's just this process that you have to understand. So when you're having lunch with this dude, guess what you should be doing? You should be filling his credit memo with a lot of positive stuff. I learned this, in my credit memo, I found out, now legally they can't, well, I don't know about legally, I haven't really seen my credit memo. But I know for sure that's on some banks that I have written a book, that I'm an author, and that I speak and teach on real estate. Does that help me?
Of course.
Yeah. Did I ever come out, hey man, I'm an author, loan me money? It's never came out like that. But when you're asking what's your goals and your dreams, well, I'm working on my third book. Oh, third book? Tell me about that. Right? See? So they're constantly doing credit memo. Under tips, under the HUD fees, okay, you can negotiate, a doc fee. You need to be aware of what those fees are, okay, and how you can negotiate those. Relationship. Okay, so one time I was borrowing money from a bank. I'm a big fan of IRAs. And one thing that gave me credibility with the bank was like, oh, you got a Vanguard Index 500? I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that deal. He had an index, Roth. So why do I still have an IRA? My mentor's like liquidate, buy real estate. They have no money in any IRA. I still have an IRA today. Why? Because it looks good to the banker. Because that's how he invests, right? We're kin because we invest in the same product. We understand this is the conversation we have. Well, I can't have that conversation with a banker because he doesn't invest in real estate, does he? No. But does he invest in the Index 500 fund? Yeah, it's doing great. Yeah, whoopee woo. You're getting 2%. Good luck.
Maybe.
Life insurance, you got to get life insurance. It's cheap. Get it now. Get it young, as early as you can. Get term. And if this looks good, looks like you know what you're talking about. Okay? And if you have one loan or any loans, it just looks good. And when you put $1 million on your balance sheet, I mean, it's not your net worth, but just in case a catastrophe happened. Now, the banker's going to ask, could you write us as a beneficiary? No. I'm sorry. Okay? They have asked me. Oh, I'm serious. Dude, I had this question not too long ago. Do you have a death plan? I'm like, what? Yeah, it's called Jesus, homie. That's my death plan.
It's like plan of succession.
That question is because I have so much debt. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm just worried about the cash flow. Okay? So you need to have that conversation. Can you get a loan with no money down? Is it possible?
Okay.
All day, every day. Okay, how to raise cash to invest. Are you guys? Oh, we're at time. See you. All right. That's it. It's 1 o'clock. Any questions? Should I go on? You sure?
Yeah.
Nobody's excited. Start throwing tens at me. Start throwing some tens. This is how you raise cash. Okay. Some people don't know this. That you have a home equity loan. This is a great way to get cash and start building real estate. Mortgage brokers not a super fan because it always seems confusing and scary to me because then they waste a lot of time and the next thing you know, oh, you're denied. So they always bother me. Joint ventures are awesome. There's this thing called key principal, KP. Someone with a large net worth can vouch for you on a deal. So, that's a good way. You can broker, you can wholesale, do a couple wholesale deals. Here's my phone number, 405. Give me a holler. Private loan from a family member. Self-directed accounts. Collateral assignments. What's that?
Where you sell a piece of a loan or a piece of some other income property or whatever you might have.
Position in the company. 5 more tips. If you're new, you can adjust your down payment or your skin in the game. Some banks that I deal with, I make sure, how do you loan? Is it on ARV or is it on the contract? That's the number one question you should ask a banker. How do you loan? Do you loan on the value of the property or what did I get it under contract for? And some banks are only on contract, and I have this conversation. I say, why are you penalizing me for doing a good job negotiating?
Right. Because that makes
Well, that's the bank I don't usually work with.
There.
That's the bank I don't normally work with. Be a strong borrower. Like, just know the game. I love it when a banker calls me, what do you think of the climate right now? Or where do you think the market's heading? Become an expert. Like, know what's going on in the market. Know what's going on over in Linwood. Know what's going on the east side. Know what's going on at the trolley. When's the trolley going to be done? Does anybody know when the trolley's going to be done?
I'm not saying that.
You're supposed to already be done 3 months ago.
Shy away from big banks. When you're buying from someone, always ask for owner finance. You should always ask that question. Would you consider, becoming the bank? That's my favorite line. How can you acquire this asset outside of banking? Think outside the box. Can you partner with somebody? Can you make it happen? Years ago, I used to be the hammer. I would come in, cash, close tomorrow. I don't say that no more. That's not even in my vocabulary anymore. But that's how I used to think. 15 years, that's how I used to operate. I'm telling you, I probably missed a lot of deals thinking that way. Now I just man, how could we make this work? Like a fine tooth pick. Weave it in there. Man. Okay. Any more questions?
What was the other one?
These are things that you need to know. But I'm tired. And it's hot.
Well,
And we're out.
That's all I need.
Do you have a separate bank account for every property?
No. Why are you asking that?
Because I'm curious for myself.
Oh, no, not to be mean. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That's a lot of orchestration.
Yeah, it is. Well, just to keep books clean for some people.
No, my
keep books
LLCs
easier.
and stuff are different.
Yeah.
I have one account
Right,
for those.
right.
How many do you have? LLCs?
A lot. Enough.
You have one
7.
For every, you don't have one for every property.
No.
I think you probably read, and I've read too. Oh, if you have, up to 5 properties or so, you can have 5 different checkbooks.
Here's the thing. Let me tell you something about asset protection. I should do a class on that. Okay? There is no foolproof asset protection. The best guy to talk to is that dude back there in the green, Ian Rupert. He is asset protection gangster. Just hanging out with him, I just melt.
You're so quiet.
I'm serious. You hang out with that dude. I'm telling you, I just changed my lease today. I added in I can't remember, I got email today, we're going to change the lease and we're going to add this in the lease today. I can't remember what she said today. Let me make sure, maybe I can help you with it. Anyway, here's the thing on the asset protection. Should I use a trust? Should I do this? Should I have 15 LLCs and confuse everybody and the judge? Okay. Good luck, buddy. Okay. Term of tenancy. Bam. This is in my lease now. This is a freebie. It says, now states, okay, before clause 4 was term of tenancy. It says now Oklahoma resident law states that the lease goes month to month after expiration of the lease. Basically, we're charging you $50 extra if it goes automatically defaults to month, which is the law of Oklahoma. So the law, any lease that is expired, right, it goes to month. Everybody knows that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well now it says in my lease it's automatic $50 extra a month that it does that. Because it's kind of weird to interpretation, we want to incentivize them to sign a more lease. And that's why we've added that $50. Now it's in writing and they understand that if they don't renew their lease because it gives an option. It's a little paragraph. But if you don't renew your lease, because I give you options when you renew your lease. Hey, keep it at this rate, keep it at this rate, keep it at that rate. But hey, because we've had property management issues, if something happens, it automatically goes to $50 extra a month. Okay, where were we before that? Okay, asset protection. Thank you, Doreen. Okay, here's the thing that I learned being sued a few times. Insurance. I'm telling you, you can have 15 LLCs, and they will come and crush you. You will be sued. I have some great friends that have been sued for years on end. Like, massive things have happened, and lawsuits have gone on and gone on. What happens when lawsuits come on? Cost money. Who pays for that? Usually. But insurance does, right? If you have insurance, who pays for that?
Insurance company.
Who pays for that? Answer the question.
Insurance company.
Insurance. So what's the best policy?
Insurance policy.
Insurance. I learned this from a friend. I got sued on a slip and fall case. I talked about it a long time ago on a podcast. And it's weird. My friend wrote my LLC. My address is in his office. He's calling me. Hey, man, you're getting served. Oh, man. I used to get nervous about this stuff. It's a different thinking now. And I met this dude 20 years ago. He did my LLC. And I was talking to him, and I'm like, man, can I hire you? No. He's like, I don't do that kind of law. And he was like, oh, what law do I do? He's like, I do senior living law. And I said, oh, really? What do you do? He's like, I sue the owners of the living centers. I go, really? You know, when something happens to them, he said, most of these people don't have insurance. If they would just have insurance, we would settle out all the time, but we take them down. Right? And it just made sense. It's like, it doesn't matter that I have my LLC all perfect, or I have my trust account in the right position, and I got 5 different bank accounts with this, and I liquidate this, right? They're going to find you. On the internet, they're going to come after you, right? You might as well have a giant law firm or a giant insurance company, and it's a tax deduction at least on your side. That's just that's what I got from that message from that guy.
You're talking about the umbrella insurance?
Well, I don't even believe in this umbrella BS too. That's not. We should have an insurance one too.
Or the normal homeowners insurance. That's what you're talking
I'm talking about like liability insurance on an asset.
Okay.
So liability on an asset. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying by insurance. Like, so when this slip and fall case, I normally would try to fight it myself, but I learned that if you fight it yourself, you could lose, and if you lose that case, the insurance won't cover behind you. So you have to call that in. And I'm glad I did, because I knew that case was frivolous, because it was just shady. This is the way it went down. It bummed me out. All these years, it just bummed me out. And I'm glad I had insurance. I called my insurance company. They hired this amazing attorney in Oklahoma City. I'm friends with that dude today, because I was like, whatever. How can I be your friend, homie? I mean, I'm serious. I had that question with this guy. I'm like, what can I do? And thank God he wants to learn real estate. And I was like, wow. But we solved that case, and it was all because of insurance. So that's the best policy. Make sure your insurance is legit.
What was your policy limit?
On that case, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, the reason I wanted to point out is I shared with you. I had a $10 million policy on some apartments. And the second story floor, the residents, and only had it for a month, the residents put the baby bed up next to a window that was open with a screen, and the baby bed was the same height.
Oh, no.
The baby crawled out the window and was a total... Anyway, the baby died after 3 years, but the insurance company spent 6 years defending this case and won. And they were out of pocket $4.5 million for a property I had for 1 month.
Oh.
So my point is that could have been, that one unit could have been a house. So if you think you've got enough insurance, you need to think again.
You also should check to make sure that the liability, whether the attorney fees are part of the liability limit. Because a lot of times the insurance company won't count the attorney fees against your liability limit. But that's a key question, because that's a very big difference in coverage.
Okay, what'd you think? Put your hands together.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.